Whether it makes you laugh, cry, scream, or fly, there's a song for every emotion. I'm Conrad, joining Mike and Priya to talk about the songs that make up the soundtrack to your life, because life is in the lyrics.
Yee-Haw, little listeners. I'm Priya.
And I'm Mike.
And I'm Conrad. I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, look at me. I'm like trying to steal all of the energy already.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for Life is in the Lyrics. You know, we've been doing this podcast for 7 months now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. Time really flies when you're having fun. And we are having a lot of fun, aren't we?
Oh, we be having a grand old time.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Grand Ole, we're going to the land of the Grand Ole Opry today with our special guest, Conrad Chung. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Conrad, thanks for coming on a Sunday afternoon to talk with us about music.
Yes, I'm quite excited because it is about country music.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Now, you have probably guessed, and we've given it away, that we be down to the bayou to the land of strawberry wine, pickup trucks, whiskey, beer, and honky tonk. That's right, y'all. As Conrad said, we're talking country music.
All right, Priya, hold your horses. Let's start from the beginning, shall we?
All right.
Conrad, please tell us how you got to come to be a guest and how you got to our little podcast.
Oh, okay. Where do I start? So I kind of got involved actually when I bumped into Priya at a vegan wine event with
A vegan food and wine fundraiser
right
for
right.
Wishbone Lab.
Oh, right, yes,
Yeah.
with Lauren Toyota. Do we mention names on this?
Yeah, we
Oh,
can.
yeah.
Lauren
Okay.
Toyota is an amazing vegan food influencer who used to be actually a Much Music VJ.
Oh, right.
I forgot the
Okay.
music connection to that. But
Yeah.
yes, so we were, and we've known each other before then, but the country music love came
Right.
up then.
Yes, because she was. I think you were serving me a drink, and then you're asking me what music I was listening to, and I brought up the fact that I listened to country music, and your eyes just sparkled and opened wide because I knew at that point you and I found
Yeah.
a kinship with each other in that
Yes.
way,
Yes.
and that was amazing.
Yes. And because he was there with his partner, and his partner does not like
Oh yes,
country music.
which also is an extra motive for me to like double down on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the car when I'm jamming out in the car, I turn it up especially loud.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, me too. Just
I
to
love
kind of see the look on his face.
Oh, you do that when he's in the car.
Oh, absolutely. Mike.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like, oh, this he doesn't like it, and so that when you're in the car on your own.
Oh no.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
no.
Nice.
I appreciate that kind of passive aggressiveness.
It's not passive.
It's active aggressiveness.
No, it's active engagement for him
Yes.
to embrace the genre.
That's
Yeah.
right. Do you find, has he embraced it at all, first of all?
Kudos to him. He has.
Okay, good.
Oh,
Kudos,
Good.
but he won't admit it. Thus, like as far that he would love it. But
Right.
that's just coded language.
Yeah. Similar to you, when I met Don, he listens to classical music and more kind of I say avant-garde, but it's more TV on the radio kind of bands.
More intellectual, maybe?
No,
Or-
there's some of that, but Don's musical tastes were different than mine, and then I'm a pop music kind of listener, and so eventually I did wear him down. Where he would start out by saying, "Oh, who's this? Kelly Clarkson?" Every artist that we listened to was like, "Oh, is this Kelly Clarkson?" And I'm like, "No, that's Katy Perry," or "No, that's it." But now he's a fan, but he's not one to admit to it like
Right.
your partners.
So I wouldn't even go as far as saying that Lucas actually will even admit that he likes country, but he will tolerate it. But I have to craft these experiences in a way where I'm trying to make sure that it becomes quote unquote the backdrop of his life.
Oh,
So
I like that.
So for example, there's this one song that that whenever it comes on, and if we're in the kitchen together, I pull him right in, and we just start slow dancing and grooving to it.
What's the song?
It's called "Working on Me" by Riley Green.
Oh, I was just going to mention his new song, The Worst Way.
Oh yeah.
That's a beautiful song. I want you in the worst way. It's very like sexy,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
very sexy and groovy.
No,
Yeah. That's how you got to do it, right? Like,
Yeah, and then inevitably, like he coined it I didn't say anything, but he's like, how did this become our song?
Yeah.
Oh,
And you know what,
you
Mike?
did it.
I did, yeah.
Mike, you say that you're a pop music kind of guy, but we used to listen to country music a lot at the early stages of our friendship.
Yeah, yeah.
And we went to country music concerts, of which you have zero memory.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's, I was interested as we were going into this episode because I am a huge country music fan, although I think the artists that Conrad and I listen to are very different because I get most of my music in the car when I'm driving
Right,
from the radio. But I was looking up like what makes country music stand out from other styles. It's very interesting because these are things that are obvious when you hear them, but I wouldn't have really necessarily thought of.
Women, booze, heartbreak.
Well, okay. Encompassing all of that into the fact that lyrics and storytelling is really key to country music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Above musicality, rhythm, beat, all of that.
Right.
And they talk really about blue collar, working class, simple life. The other thing is they have traditional instrumentation and a very distinctive vocal style. You know, that country twang,
Yes.
right? So those are the things that make it stand out, which I thought was really interesting because I know a lot of styles of music have storytelling to them, but really that's the crux of country music, right?
That is correct, yes.
Yeah.
And it's I find it's the motive states that those stories conjure up as you're listening to them as a listener that is so profound because then it makes you, at least for me anyway, it pulls out memories and it draws out different kind of facets that I may not have been aware of. And it forces me to have that moment of reflection that I wouldn't necessarily think about when I'm listening to a pop song, right? Where it's more rhythmic and it's more beat driven.
Yeah, and a lot of like the music is often overtakes lyrics in a lot of other genres. Like the emphasis is on the musicality or the different instrumentation as opposed to the storytelling. Like sometimes the lyrics take a real backseat in a lot of songs. And we've all heard songs where it's basically the same chorus just over and over again with like maybe 3 lines that are the verses, right?
Baby, this is what you came for.
Yeah.
Lightning strikes every time she moves. That song doesn't really go anywhere. That's really all the lyrics.
That's all there is.
Yeah.
But let's go back
Not
a little
country.
bit to introduce Conrad here, because I think that's also what makes it interesting that you enjoy country music. Because, okay, Conrad is, he has a great business that we're going to mention at the end of the episode as well, like direct you how to get there, but it's called The Dapper Dog. And they make the cutest scarves and cravats and bow ties for dogs, of which Kaya has one, and then she ate it.
Oh, no.
So I need to buy her another bow tie, but she has some of the cravats. But you are...
Well, that's just to interrupt.
Yeah.
That is how I met Conrad.
Yes,
Yeah.
at one of my wine events where they were set up selling some of
You can tell my story?
Sorry. I'm going to just take a sip of coffee. Go ahead.
That's right. Priya, you were hosting an event, and Conrad and your partner, you had a booth there, and you had these really cute doggy apparel items. So there was like the triangle scarves and the bow ties.
Which I just said. Mike loves to do
bandanas.
this. He likes to repeat the exact thing I've just said a minute later as if it's new information.
But, I'm going to side with Mike on this one, Priya, because he did say you were telling his story.
Thank you very much,
Fine,
Conrad.
Conrad. You're my guest.
I
by
liked
the way.
you a lot. Now I like you even more.
Fine.
He's
Talk amongst
our
yourselves.
guest.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. So yeah, and that's how we met. And I had no idea that you had this country music affiliation.
Neither did I.
And then you pointed it out, and that made me like you even more.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like, okay, this might be a little bit not so PC, but Conrad is Chinese.
Yes.
Okay. And you just probably, no, come on, let's be honest. You probably wouldn't expect if you're at a concert at Budweiser stage, listening to a country act, that there's going to be a lot of Chinese people or Indian people for that sake in the audience. I just think it's very cool that is a genre that is his kind of preferred genre. And when he told me that, I was just like, as he mentioned, my eyes lit up. I was like, somebody who loves country music as much as I do.
Yes, and I'm going to echo that sentiment because you're right. You're absolutely right in that every single time that I bring up that I like or listen to country music, actively listen to country music, people give me this head scratching look, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you really?
Right.
Why?"
Yeah.
Right.
Have you been to concerts?
So I was going to mention that.
Yeah.
So going back to Lucas one more time, have I worn him down? I think so, because last year he surprised me by buying us tickets to a country music festival for my birthday.
Wow.
It was in this little small town called Saint Agapit in Quebec.
Oh, okay.
It was a 3-day festival, and so like the primary genesis was that Riley Green was headlining.
Is
the
he Canadian?
Event. Riley Green is no, he's
Okay.
not. He's not Canadian. I think he's Alabama,
Okay.
from Alabama, and so I was really excited to see him, and I got even more excited when I looked up
Right.
the other artists that were lined up, and so one of them was Cameron Marlowe,
Yes.
fantastic artist,
Yes.
and then the second one was Lee Bryce, which I know,
I love him.
which I know, Priya, you love.
I do. And Mike, I've mentioned one of his songs way back, and that song kills me every time I hear
Memory
it.
you don't mess with.
A memory I don't mess with. Yeah, it's just beautiful
It
song.
is, yeah. And so we were there, and you were right. Like we were there. We drove from Toronto all the way to Quebec City, like an 8-hour drive or something like that, only to be standing in the middle of a field. And unfortunately, that afternoon when we got into St. Agapit, it was raining. And it was like, as you would expect, a country music festival to be held in a open field,
Right.
and next to, I think it was a pig farm. I'm not quite sure. And
Lovely.
so when all the with all the precipitation,
Oh no.
right? Yeah. So we were basically standing in inches of sludge.
Oh my God.
I didn't bring my cowboy. I don't own a cowboy boots, and so I think from appearance wise, I don't look like the typical audience member that a country music artist would kind of cater towards, right?
Right.
And we were there, like it was apparent. I was in shorts with a white pair of sneakers. The only thing that was country about me was like my boyfriend, who is a white dude with a beard and a trucker hat.
Yeah.
And he hates country.
Oh, isn't that funny? It was
And yet
like,
he looks.
And
he looks country, but he hates country.
He hates country. Yeah.
Now, what was the makeup of that audience? Did you notice?
Oh
like,
yes. Going back to that, primarily white,
obviously.
right? Farming community. Basically, as you would expect. I don't think I've met or I've saw, but the thing is, granted, we were only there just for the shows. We weren't there for the actual during the daytime for the actual other festivities. So I didn't get to see the crowd at that point. But from what I saw, it was just primarily a white
Yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
But-
We've been to concerts in at the Molson Amphitheater and or Budweiser Stage or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And a couple of them that we've been to that were country, I can recall us looking around and going like, "Oh, look,
I can
there's
count.
a person of color." It's
Yes,
like
it's almost like a joke.
A very homogenous looking audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a slow change in that genre, but even with the artists now, you are starting to see kind of a more diverse artists coming up. Darius Rucker, Kane Brown.
Darius Rucker's actually been a while for a long time though. 'Cause-
Yeah, he has,
Yeah,
but
'cause-
he's kind of started to have hits in country music over the last like maybe 5 years, right? He's been around for a long time with Hootie and the Blowfish before that.
Right. Yeah.
But have you heard the new song with him and Scotty McCreery?
I have Bottle Rockets
Bottle Rockets, but then it has Hold My Hand sort of as a
background.
background
I
music.
didn't. I mean, I casually listened to it because I was working. I actually just heard it yesterday. I was just working and was just playing in the background, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like Darius Rucker."
Yeah.
I didn't actually get into the specifics of the song itself. So,
Yeah, it's a great song. I just heard it on the way here, and I thought it was really cool because now you see more, quote, mainstream white artists embracing kind of other artists and collaborating with them too. I remember when Kane Brown first came out, there was such a backlash.
Yes.
Real backlash in the community, in the country music community. And I think he had a duet with Lauren Elena or something was his
Yes.
first song. And it was really brave of her to partner with him because it wasn't embraced at first. But now he's a huge star.
Right, exactly. Especially given the fact that she came off of American Idol, didn't win, and she's a female country artist. Right?
That's right, because it's different for female country artists.
Okay, so I have some thoughts about this because one of the things that I think draws us to country music is its ability to tell stories and this way that's that feels meaningful, relatable. It's honest. There's a kind of purity.
Yes.
I don't know if that's the right word, but there's something very safe in it all in a way. And yet it's very exclusive as a genre. They're
absolutely.
not, yeah, they're not very welcoming, and they certainly historically have had misogynistic kind of qualities about them as well. You know, we were talking in a previous episode about how country music radio stations, they won't play two female artists back to back.
Did you know that, Conrad? That's actually a thing.
I learned that from you from that
Okay.
event.
Oh, okay. And actually, but it wasn't just country music. I thought it was interesting when I was looking up Sarah McLachlan when she, for our episode that we were considering doing an episode on her Lilith Fair, that it was the same thing with pop music back in the day. They wouldn't play two females back to back, and that's why she started Lilith Fair, partly.
But my point really was around the country music side and
Yes.
that kind of juxtaposition between this gravitation towards this honest and kind of like really down home, feel good kind of storytelling music, and this parallel, you know, clashing of values that go with it as well.
It's very hegemonic. Like it's male hegemonically central.
Yeah.
Oh, we got big words here.
Yeah,
Did
I
we
know.
not look that one up? Hegemonic.
No, we'll look that up.
Later. Pretend, nod and smile.
No, I know what that means, Priya.
Please explain, Mike.
No, you tell me. Do you know what it means?
No, carry on, Conrad.
Yes, and so this definitely ties into country music radio, right? Where artists that they play, there's a very stereotypical feel about them, right? They're generally white men that sound. I would want to challenge the fact that they sound very much similar to, like the maybe not be their voices specifically, but the sound that they have.
Like the musical sound?
Yes, the musical.
That's true.
And so it's such a machine of recognizing what works and what doesn't, and just perpetuating the same cycle of that pattern, right? Because at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but it is a business model for them.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I would say there are a couple of exceptions. Like there are a couple of artists that I can think of off the top of my head that have very specific, unique sounds in country music. Brad Paisley.
Yes.
But he's not really performing so much anymore, but from the 90s, because his music was always kind of funny in a way, right?
Very
Like
tongue-in-cheek.
very tongue-in-cheek, very like almost jokey lyrics.
Oh,
His
yeah,
songs
absolutely.
were really unique to him. And then Kenny Chesney, I think, has a very sort of like, kind of like a fun sort of summer vibe to all his songs. And
Oh,
they
absolutely.
sort of all sound the same. But you're right in that, like, there are a lot of country artists. If they each sang each other's songs, you wouldn't be able to say, oh, but that's not your song, because they all kind of sound the same.
Yes. So I was watching this YouTube video a while back, and the title of the YouTube video was "Why Does Country Music All Sound the Same from the 2010s?"
Oh,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
this guy took the sound files of each song and then compared the audio files and basically dissected and compared. And there are segments that are pretty much formulaically driven, that they're so similar to each other, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why, and goes back to the circle of exclusivity, was that when you look at the producers and the top songwriters at that particular decade, it was just a very select few people that were continuously cropping up and producing these hit singles.
Right. Yeah.
I can't remember all the names specifically, but I remember one was like Corey Crowder, I believe, and he wrote like hits for major artists. One of the one that I can remember now is Chris Young,
Okay.
but he was actually featured on many
Right.
many other artists' songs.
Yeah. But that's also similar in pop music, right? Like Max
Exactly.
Martin is the go-to producer for, I mean, he's produced a ton of Taylor Swift, but he also is the go-to guy for producing like a lot of the hits.
Right.
And the fact that like most music relies on the same sort of 4 or 5 chords.
Right. Yeah.
We also Pri and I did an episode on that touched on something like this about the biggest hits. and what did there's some research that has been done about comparing songs that have been hits over the decades and what is the commonality around all those songs.
There are 4 chords
Yeah.
that unlock hundreds of popular songs. They are C major, G major, F major, and A minor. So those are the
Nothing to
foundation
me. I
of.
have no idea. What that,
Me too.
as a non-musician, I don't know what that means.
Well, I don't either. I know the difference between major and minor, but I couldn't play those chords for you. But it's just interesting that those 4 chords are kind of the basis of most popular music. That's why when we were talking recently about Patsy Cline and her song Crazy, how it was so hard for her to get that. Well, actually, she didn't write the song. Willie Nelson wrote the song, but it was very hard for him to get an artist to record it because it was a very different sound.
Arrangement.
And it used different chords. It used a lot of minor chords, which sound more melancholy than major chords. And so people shied away from that. But then now Crazy is like a standard hit, right?
Now, you made a comment about Brad Paisley in the 90s. Now, I would also say that Shania Twain was probably similar to that genre because her music was all kind of tongue-in-cheek and kind of jokey, that don't impress me much.
That's right.
Like those kinds of songs.
Whose bed have your boots been under?
Yeah, and so she was a trailblazer in country music at that time as well because she was doing something that hadn't been seen before in country music in terms of that kind of flashy pop.
Yeah.
Wasn't
I
that
think
a part
that's
of it?
I think the pop angle of Shania was what made her stand out at that time. Because 90s country had a lot of female artists that were big hits, but her and Faith Hill, I think, kind of stand out from that era to be that crossover.
Yeah. Now, Conrad,
Yes. I know the names.
you know the name. I was going to say, were you born when they were?
Conrad?
I was born, yes.
Okay, good.
Were you? Okay.
I was born, but I'm ashamed to say that I actually am not familiar with the discography.
Yeah.
Okay. And I did notice, actually, on the artists that you sent, that they're exclusively male.
I know that.
Oh, yeah.
And I was aware of that as I was listing them out. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Is that intentional? Is that just because you prefer deeper voices?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a preference, more so that there is a tonality that connects a lot of the songs that resonates or that I find really enjoyable to listen to.
Okay.
And so there's the raspiness of it.
Right. In the male voices.
Yes.
But then again, like on your list of artists, you didn't mention people like Chris Stapleton or who have a lot of that kind of growl and rasp.
And you're right. But I also find that Chris Stapleton is so ubiquitous
Okay.
in terms of people's like go-to reference for a country, like an acceptable country artist that they will not be, I guess, vilified for listening to.
Okay.
Right. So like Tennessee Whiskey, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Traveler, I think, is such a like well constructed and well received album. But I find that his there's a song that he released on his Starting Over album called "You Should Probably Leave."
Yes.
Oh man,
I love that song.
That is
Do you know that one, Mike?
No, I don't.
That is such a good jam.
Oh, I wish I could remember but it just, I can't remember too much of the.
Da, 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 da. I hate it when you know the song so
Yeah.
intimately,
I know, but
and then
you
when
can't.
like a drop of a hat, you can't pull out the lyrics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had that many times.
Okay.
But it is such a great song, basically about.
So it's this. So it's basically a broken relationship where he wants to get back with his girlfriend, but then, but he knows that she doesn't want him in the same way. But she still calls him up for like a booty call or whatever.
right.
And he keeps wanting her to stay, and knowing that she'll eventually leave afterwards, right? But he'll succumb. Like he'll be, he'll always answer the call. He'll always pick up, and then afterwards, when he finally did. When he does pick up the call the next morning, she always leaves, and he's always hoping that she wants to stay.
Did you guys figure out the lyrics yet?
The look in your eyes, and you should probably leave. You want me to say that I want you to stay, so you should probably leave. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Great song. Again, very like sensual.
Oh yes,
This is what I love about country music. It's not overtly sexy. Like it's not overtly sexual,
yes.
but it is very sexy.
Oh hell yes.
Very classy, sexy, you know?
Yes.
Even like a song I was listening to on the way here, she's saying something about she's trying to say he's really good in bed, but she doesn't say the bed part. She just says, and he's good in, and she lets it go because they're so down home respectful. They don't really talk about sex overtly, right? It's really sweet.
Okay, so going back to your comment about the female artists.
Yeah.
And as I was compiling it, I'm like, oh, if I keep putting everything on, it's just gonna look like a massive list. Right?
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to showcase was like, these are like, if we were to talk about any of the songs, these are the ones that I want to talk about, right? But you're not wrong.
When you say I'm not wrong, do you mean I'm right? Because I always wonder when people say you're not wrong. Just a question, just an aside. I just like people to say you're right. Can you just say you're right?
Oh, you're right.
Thank
Priya.
you. Carry on. Carry on, tally ho.
Chin chin, yes.
Chin chin.
Right. So if I were to keep listening to artists, like it would have been just massive list. So one of them I really like, Maddie and Tay.
Yeah.
They have this incredible song that I think a lot of people should listen to. It's called "Die from a Broken Heart." It's written from the perspective of how this woman's broken up from a relationship and how devastating it was for her, but it was just so laissez-faire for the guy, and she's very hurt and very calloused. The song phrases it in a question or a conversation of a phone call between her and her mom, saying like, "Oh, hey, how do you get a red wine stain out of your..."
I think I do know this song. Yeah.
And then like, "Can you die from a broken heart?"
Right. It's so sweet, like that she's calling her mom.
Right. Exactly.
And that is country music, right? Like they talk a lot about things like that. And I was thinking about, why do I like country music so much? I feel like it really hits the heart a lot because it's so much about the simple things in life. They talk a lot about growing up on the land and in the fields and, spending their summers fishing by the lake and just like the simple joys.
But why does that resonate so much with such a large audience though?
Because I think it's universal, Mike. Like these attributes that they're singing about and these qualities that they're trying to emote or to convey, these are universal feelings, right? Particularly drawing up familial joy, bonding with people that you love, hanging out with friends that you get to see or may not get to see quite often. And so it kind of recalls and recounts back to those elements of your life that you often overlook or that you often take for granted, but then they're celebrated here, that they're actually put on display up front and center and unabashedly talked about. But that's also saying like, that's the good side of like these are all the positive attributes, but then you can say there's like a whole spectrum of the the darker emotions, the regret, the remorse, the disappointments, and that gets showcased in such a beautiful canvas that they sing about. And I don't necessarily.
You really love country. What I'm curious about is the symbolism in country music and how that is so it's so triggering. So, growing up on the land. Well, I don't know about you, but there aren't many people that I know grew up on a farm. So this is this fantasy about, what it must be like to be out in the fields and, these sort of simple things like going fishing. When you have time to do something, how often do you think, let's go fishing?
Never
right?
for me personally.
No.
But Mike, let me turn that around on you and say, like, when you go to stay with your friends at their cottage and stuff, how does it feel to be out of the city?
No, I don't disagree. I'm not saying like.
I'm just trying to carry on your question.
Yeah.
It's just saying like, because I think that's part of what makes it so attractive is that we grow up in this concrete jungle, so much of us, and sure, we have nature around us and all, but all we hear is the sounds of, there's a lyric from the Dixie Chicks that I just love. I want to sleep on the hard ground in the comfort of your arms, on a pillow of blue bonnets, in a blanket made of stars. And she says, I want to walk, not run. I want to skip and not fall. I want to look at the horizon and not see buildings standing tall. I think when we go out of the city, we all kind of feel And that's, I think, what is the crux of country music. It's just that feeling of like kind of relaxing into just life and being surrounded by the beauty of nature without all these, just the concrete jungle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, no, I was going to add to that I think what you're describing is the bucolic aspect
Yes.
of the countryside, right? And I guess as city dwellers, we're so ingrained with hustle culture that it's a different pace. And I guess you often romanticize, like,
Yeah.
the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Because at the same time, like why a lot of people moved from the country, like there's this urban migration that happened, that took place, right? So that there was a lot of these opportunities that are in the city that are not necessarily available to them where they lived.
Right.
And so I think as city dwellers, it's possibly a foreign concept to just lay out in the field.
Right.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, I would say that the sentiment's kind of shared in the reverse way, right?
Yeah, for me, I just find it interesting that the romanticizing of these particular symbols is a constant throughout the genre.
Can I say that I think that's also one of the tropes that is a country song? Because if you look at hip hop, right, like one of the main tropes is like flashiness, right?
Yeah.
Like of how much money that they have, how many women that they have, right? So it's the same. We're talking about the same thing,
Exactly.
but but basically it's just under a different brand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's true. Every genre has kind of its trope. Conrad, when you sent us some sort of background information on artists that you enjoyed and stuff, you broke out your song selection into 4 groups, and I thought this was really interesting. So, Mike, you want to just read those out and let's delve into them?
Yeah. So, well, actually, why don't we ask Conrad?
Okay,
yeah.
so before I get into that, I want to say going back to that female artist one more time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift, big fan, absolutely big fan. So the first song, that,
Could we
I knew
love
I
him
loved you.
anymore?
I knew I loved you. Yes.
actually, how I got into country music, because I don't think I answered that question, or if that question came up.
Bad interviews, Mike. We should have asked that as the first question. God damn it. It was in our list.
You did ask the question in the email, so
Okay,
there we go.
There we go.
So shout out to my sister Jennifer,
Jennifer.
Thanks, Jennifer.
because she was the one that actually introduced me to country music.
Okay.
And I think
When?
so. This was 20. I want to say 2010.
Okay, so
2000,
quite a while.
2000 no, earlier than that, 2008.
Okay,
I
great.
specifically know that 2008, and she had an art project. This is the long. I'm going to give you a really short version of this because I've been known to ramble on about this. So she got listen. She
Are you
started
a
listening.
rambling man?
So she started listening to country music, and she showed me the song, and the song was Taylor Swift's "Our Song." I don't know if you know that one from her very first debut
Conrad.
album.
I went to her concert twice. Obviously, I know that song.
So "Our Song," it's talk about country kind of imagery.
Yeah.
That is like one of the sweetest
I
type
know.
of bubbly proses that there are out there about
Yep.
like the quaint country life.
Yeah.
And so when I heard that, I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Our song is a slamming screen door, sneaking out late, tapping on your window. Mike,
Now keep
when
going.
we're on the phone and you talk real slow, cause it's late
And
and
your
your mama
mama
don't
don't
know.
know.
Our song is... Oh, I love that song. Okay, nobody's joining in. Let's carry on, folks.
And so anyway, so she introduced me to that, and then afterwards, I was like, okay, that this is all coincidental. That we turn on the TV, and at that point, her song "Picture to Burn." Came on, and again, that was how I introduced it. Because if it wasn't for her introducing me to Taylor Swift before, I wouldn't have stayed to watch that music video.
Okay.
And then after that, she introduced me to Brad Paisley. She said that there's a song off his album called "Mud on the Tires."
Yes?
It's such a tongue-in-cheek, iconic song of his that I find like, wow. Like
Which song? Was it Mud on the Tires?
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly. Mud on the Tires. And it was just, and that's kind of how I broke into country, because it not only resonated with me on a kind of musicality side of things,
Yeah.
but the way that they were phrasing these stories and discussing and talking about them. I thought it was just funny, but at the same time relatable in a weird way.
What were you listening to before?
Good question.
Yes, I was listening to R&B. like
Oh.
really hard R&B. Yeah. So like,
Heart, like what is
so
that?
like Tyrese,
Okay.
Deep Side. I don't know if
I don't know them. I know Tyrese, but I don't know Deep
Yeah,
Side. Was this like 90s R&B or like later?
I think it was more to like 2000,
Okay.
late 90s and early 2000 R&B. I can't remember. Like
And do you still listen to R&B?
I do, but in a very different way now.
Okay. And
How so?
Oh, so if you're familiar with Tyrese's discography or like the songs that he sings,
A little bit.
some of them, one of them, like I think the song title would capture it all. It was like "Do It with the Lights On" or like "I Like Something with the Lights On," like sleep. And so basically, it was just songs about that type
Okay.
of topic, right?
Right.
And
What type of topic? I just like you to, and it's just so the little listeners can understand exactly what you're trying to say.
sex?
Sexy time songs.
Yeah.
Yes, very, very much so.
I'm
Explicitly.
I'm picking something up here, and it is that, and tell me if I'm wrong, but when you were talking about the country music that you listen to and how you connect with it and dancing in the kitchen with your partner, and then you were talking about Tyrese and this R&B.
Oh.
I think there's a sexy side of
think
you
so.
that
And he seems so, like debonair and.
you could be debonair and sexy.
I like it. I like
you.
it.
Oh, I don't
Conrad,
even
you're
know
a
what
very handsome man. Can we just say this?
Oh my God.
Also,
Oh my God.
I've always thought like, wow, that is a handsome
Oh my
man.
God.
Nice biceps too. Anyways,
Yeah, okay. Priya,
sorry, it's getting. Is it hot in here?
she's always...
It's just a hot
Priya,
flash.
you haven't even tried the cookie yet.
I know because I don't want to be
That's not a
chewing.
euphemism.
Oh,
Oh my
I
God.
was hoping it was.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's settle down, folks. Can we go into your
Yeah.
4?
Okay, but
Okay.
before we do that, given that we're on a certain thread here,
Yes.
so when I was preparing for this recording and I was looking at the artists that you had provided us, and then I was going online and checking out their videos,
You had sex in your mind?
I was like, oh, wow, okay. Oh, this guy, oh, Jesus, okay. Oh, God.
Okay. I don't
I'm like,
necessarily
these
know
are
which
hot
songs.
guys.
Oh,
These are hot.
Well, all the guys, yeah, they
guys.
are very hot.
That
Yes.
Roman
yes.
Alexander? Oh,
Oh.
my God. He is a hunk. And his voice, I love his music.
Mm.
And it helps that it's being sung by...
A really
And
attractive.
again, this goes back to that, that topic about what works for country music radio, right? And it's this kind of stereotypical imagery of what a country artist that the music industry is wanting to project.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and then as consumers of the music, that what we're then being conditioned to accept as the front person of what a
Let's
country
say
artist
the
should be.
image.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I would say I agree with that. But there are some artists who break through that, right? Like Chris Stapleton
That and Luke Combs.
and Luke Combs. Like Chris Stapleton, when he first came on the scene, he did not look like the rest of country music with that beard that goes down to his belly button.
But the funny thing is, I actually thought he looked more country than all the other guys.
100%.
Right.
He looks like somebody that is probably riding a tractor. But he wasn't, but they weren't the people who were performing on stage, right?
Right,
So
right.
he looked very different. So I think that you can, when you have a special talent, like you can kind of
Oh, yeah.
break the mold. Which
Well,
is,
there's I noticed that a lot of the artists, as I was getting deeper into this Nashville scene, there are a lot of young, handsome, kind of
Polished.
polished
Yes.
white men
Right.
with tattoos.
Right.
It's like they all look like hipsters.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. And a lot of people now look like country artists because that's a popular look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the hipster look kind of replicates country music artists. So it kind of feeds back and forth.
And I see that you have a buffalo check on. Is that
You know. I'm
representing
wearing-
today?
Yeah.
And what am I wearing?
Uh,
I'm wearing a Johnny Cash.
You walk the
Oh,
line.
I
walk the line. Yes, right,
I
right.
always walk the line. I most of the time cross the line. But anyways, so now
You run past
I
the
run
line.
right past it.
Okay, back to your four core.
Yes.
Oh my category.
I
Yeah.
like this.
So
it
when
was
when Priya asked me to join the podcast, I was not only just excited, but I was just like almost nervous in a way because I wanted to showcase the artists that I absolutely think is deserving of more recognition than they are currently having. And so, but I also wanted to bucket them in why I like them.
Right.
And so, the four categories that I kind of put together are the core values. So like these songs kind of represent, as they're singing about it, basically principles and ethos that I personally resonate with and that I absolutely want to and be proud to represent. And these are not necessarily specifically to country music because they're all universal, these humanistic traits that we have, but they're, I guess, more pronounced in country music.
Can you tell us what some of those core values are?
I think that's basically the same values that we kind of all look for in a good person, right? So you want them to be dedicated, you want them to be hardworking, that you want them to be kind.
Yes.
You want them to be resilient and be persevering in hardships. And I think that itself is a quality that is not necessarily talked about in mainstream society, but I think is one of the core defining values that kind of separate people who have seen success and people who unfortunately kind of falter to the wayside, right? So those are that's kind of what I kind of frame as like core values, right?
Okay.
And I have I think a song that kind of talks about that and discusses about that later on. So the second one was I couldn't figure out a name, like a good name for it, but I call it grooving, like for grooving, like mostly it's like I think like a parallel to like the implied sexualness or sexiness for
So songs for like sexy time.
No.
Oh, sorry. No.
No, but I think it's more sensual. Like songs that are a bit more sensual, that a bit more soft and
like that one that we played.
Yes,
like that Chris Stapleton one.
That but like I mean, also please do like play "Working on Me."
Working on Me. Okay.
By
Who's
Riley
that by?
Green. Riley Green.
Oh, okay.
Or "Lost on You" by Ryan Kinder. Oh, that's a good one too.
Riley Green is a great artist, yeah. And he does have some mainstream airplay.
Absolutely. But when I want to say, when I listened to to Riley, he did not have like the following that he does now. So I listened to him before he released his debut album, Different Round Here. And he had this, oh my gosh, talk about sexy songs. What was it? When You Come Home Tonight.
Okay.
Oh, when she comes home tonight, something like that.
Okay.
That's a freaking sexy song. That was the first song I heard from Riley.
Yeah, I see what you mean by grooving. Like I just saw the movie Sinners last night.
Oh.
And it's set in 1930s Mississippi and a lot of blues. They're playing a lot of blues. And so blues has that kind of groovy
absolutely. And so
sound,
that
right?
was and I think we were like before the podcast started, we were talking about like, oh, like save that for the podcast.
Yeah.
And so that was actually one of the elements that I feel connects all of the artists that I listen to because there is that bluegrass sound.
Right.
It's such a nuanced and refreshing infusion into country music. Or at least for the songs I listen to. I don't know about like the current country hits right now. How much bluegrass is actually infused in it.
Curiously, before you continue with your four groups, I'm just wanted to ask, have you heard Post Malone's F1 album?
I did not take a full listen to it.
Okay.
So I have not gone that far yet, sir.
The only reason I mentioned that is because you were talking about bluegrass, and when we've talked about this album a little bit before, because he really explores country music is a genre, but they have so many subgenres in there.
Absolutely,
there's like honky tonk, there's bluegrass, there's like old
Appalachia.
Country. Yeah. So, and he crosses a lot of those subgenres, which I think is super interesting because you can tell he loves country music because it's he's delved into all the